Hello and thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show.
It's a war zone out there. They're destroying the city.
Star Wars actor John Boyega changes tack in his new film, Detroit, set during one of the largest race riots in US history. And artists in exile. Work from dancers, artists, musicians and writers from Syria to South Sudan is on display in Paris. He was catapulted to stardom in Star Wars: The Force Awakens. His latest film, Detroit, cements him as an incredible actor. Kathryn Bigelow directs John Boyega in the story of police brutality and civil unrest in 1960s Detroit. Boyega plays a security guard caught between his race and his uniform as he attempts to mediate between police racism and tortured suspects. I caught up with the British actor in Paris.
You don't know, I tell you. I was working security by Wisconsin, and on Tuesday night, we heard gunfire coming from the area near the Algiers. Police was there. There was a lot of shooting.
John, congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
Detroit revisits shocking events that happened during riots in Detroit in 1967. Although it happened 50 years ago, it doesn't seem that distant.
Yeah.
Why is it important to retell this story?
I think it's important because we're now at a time in which the conflict is quite rife. It's quite intense, especially in the United States. And I think sometimes to know how to move forward, you have to look back at the past and kind of understand why you have certain wounds and the origins of this conflict. And I think Detroit explores that in a very specific way. It's complex, it's messy, and it doesn't allow you to categorize and simplify everything to make it easier to comprehend. I think it allows the audience to be empathetic and to have also an element of perspective. And I think that's really, really important right now.
Melvin, you want to go home?
Yeah.
What happened at the motel?
Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, just some of Black Americans killed during the making of the film. What was the atmosphere like on the set for you guys?
The names, never fade. I think at the time for me, the one that was really stuck in my mind was what happened with Sandra Bland. I think that in itself reflected onto why we need to make the movie, and you unfortunately draw a kind of responsibility and strength from those situations in which, now's the time we need to understand that this is a specific target and we need to eradicate it. And that's something that we discussed, in unity on set. And it gave us strength to know that this is a movie that has to be made regardless. And
you play a security guard who witnessed the savagery from the police at the Algiers Hotel in Detroit. He was caught in an impossible situation. You met the real man, Dismukes. Tell us what he said to you and how it helped you.
It was great to speak to him. Kathryn set up the meet and we had a chance to just talk about his upbringing and his childhood, his friends, and I think that's something I wanted to do at first because I didn't want to just get to know him in relation to what he went through. I want to know who he is as a human being. And that was great. And then we started getting into the crux of it, talking about what happened at the Algiers Motel. And he was very open and gave me a lot of information. And that really, really helped me in terms of just building a character to know. And it was easier to perform with that information.
Do you think he could have done more?
Nah. I think those circumstances are far-fetched. If I'm being honest, I put myself in that situation watching the movie. I wouldn't have left the grocery store. I just wouldn't have felt safe enough. And the fact that he did that, tried to open conversation with the soldiers, it's an interesting thing. But getting to know him and speaking to him and what he says about community, you understand why he did that.
Hey, fellas. Melvin Dismukes. I'm with United Security. I'm guarding that grocery store across the street. I come bearing gifts.
Oh, thank you. That's nice voice.
All right, stand by, Ken. Head on swivel.
Hey, all things considered, this is pretty good.
Thank you. I'll have my usual appliances.
Oh, you got any sugar?
Don't push it, man.
A few years ago, when you appeared in the trailer for Star Wars, you were subject to some racist comments. You responded excellently on Instagram, saying, you know, to whom it may concern, get used to it. How much is racism part of your everyday life?
It's not an everyday thing for me. It's not part of my everyday life. I think that was obviously significant because, you know, you're just an actor before that and you're in various different projects. You land one part, you know, you tickle some toes a little bit. I like that though. They got to stay mad. I mean, things are changing, and more people of colour and people of several different minorities are getting opportunity, and I support that. So it is what it is.
The flooding tunnel's over that ridge. We'll get in that way.
What was your job when you were based here?
Sanitation.
Sanitation? Then how do you know how to disable the shields?
I don't. I'm just here to get Ray.
People are counting on us. The galaxy is counting on us.
Solo, we'll figure it out. We'll use the Force.
That's not how the Force works.
Landing the lead role in a massive franchise like Star Wars is the pinnacle, it's the big dream. The next one is out soon, The Last Jedi. What can we expect?
Oh, yeah, well, I don't even know where to start and what to expect. I mean, it's definitely going to be bigger, a more in-depth look at the characters that have been obviously introduced to us in Force Awakens, and really big action sequences, great effects. It's another Star Wars stories that it is going to matter.
And Pacific Rim Uprising is another one of your films coming up.
Yeah.
Are you playing a hero again?
Yeah, definitely. I'm playing another different type of hero. Yeah, it's quite fun. Pacific Rim was something that came after kind of Detroit, and we wanted to just expand and do bigger and better things, and Pacific Rim is part of that path, and I'm really excited about it. And
you've been catapulted into Hollywood. Apparently you asked Robert Downey Jr. for some tips on how to be famous correctly.
I'm not sure about famous correctly. But
what did he tell you?
It's just dealing with your circumstance. I think people forget that once you land in this kind of new life, it really is a new life that you don't know. I've lived most of my life not knowing any of you and living my life walking on the street, going shopping, doing my normal stuff. Now when you're in kind of feels like you're in another person's shoes, you need guidance. And that's something that I wanted to know about.
So what did he tell you?
What was his top tip? A lot of stuff that, you know, we keep here. No snitching. I ain't snitching on you, Robert.
John, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
This is not going to go the way you think. Fulfill your destiny.
John Boyega speaking to me a few days ago in Paris. Well, next to the Exiled Artists Workshop. It's an art space in Paris where dancers, artists, musicians and writers who fled war and oppression can display their work and talent. France 24 has been to find out more, as Deeptika Laurent reports.
These exiled artists are channeling their grief and pain into their chosen art. Kubra Khademi fled Afghanistan and sought refuge here in France 2.5 years ago. She had become a target at home after speaking out about violence against women in a Kabul street protest. Alongside 120 other refugee artists, she works in this Parisian space known as the Exiled Artists Workshop.
Here is a space that I can, through paint, I can put my drawing on the, where I want. This much space is amazing. Yeah, it's a nice space. I have quite freedom here. I can do everything I want.
One of the artists, Mohamed Noor Wana, fled his native South Sudan 20 years ago. He's now preparing to transform his memories into the written word.
Je suis en train de travailler sur 2 romans en français. Et aujourd'hui, là, j'ai...
I'm working on 3 texts that talk about what's happening in the Mediterranean, about what's happening in Darfur, what pushes people to come all the way to Europe. Right now, I'm also working on a novel that's called In the Heart of Asylum, since I'm an asylum seeker myself. Here, there's space and there's an opportunity to work alongside people who push us to go forward.
The workshop is a 1,000 square meter space that's open to professionals and members of the public. It's ephemeral. A local association procured it after French charity Emmaüs convinced the building's owners to loan the place until a new buyer is found. And the association is hoping to open up similar workshops across Europe.
We said to ourselves that we really needed a place where we could unite professionals and artists. Professionals are very happy to meet artists from other parts of the world because it takes them out of their ordinary lives. For the artists, they don't know how to do certain things because it's complicated to arrive in a new country where you don't necessarily speak the language or understand how things work.
This space also provides legal help for the refugee artists, many of whom often arrive illegally into France. Their goal is to ensure that exile for these artists is not a punishment, but a chance at a new life.
And we'll leave you now with a new exhibition close to Paris's Champs-Élysées. Paul Gauguin is the focus of a retrospective at the Grand Palais until January. Remember our website, we're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up in France 24 after this.
What do you want from your news website? Force24.com, giving you easier access to information and faster for a unique experience. Force24.com, the international news website.